part of the Leo kingdom.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, Leo King, and we're here for Deep Astrology, your weekly look into some deep astrology for this week of May the 14th through the 20th of 2019. If you've never watched the show before, we're on highvibe.tv, and of course, we're streaming it live right now on Facebook, but soon to be streaming live on highvibe.tv. But this show is all about where I'm going to channel the astrology for you at the first part of the show, go deep into the astrology, what's going on, and we go even deeper by then going into the charts, which are brought to you by Astro Gold, which you can get on iOS, Android, and of course on your MacBook or my Mac. But if you're on PC, go head over to SolarFire. We want to thank you, all of you over there at SolarFire and Astro Gold for your charts. Wow, this week is finally a full moon in Scorpio, but this is not any old full moon in Scorpio, people. No, it's not. It is a big one. Not for the fact that it's near the end of Scorpio or that we are coming to the end of Taurus, but this full moon in Scorpio is a big deal because it is truly highlighting, and I know I might sound like a repetitive person, but this is highlighting from October of 2012 to I'll just say to now, and how, what the heck was that? And the release point of that, and the transformation. And you want to talk about a phoenix rising? It's this full moon. Because if you think about what we have gone through since at that end 2012 point, and then the galactic shift point, that was Scorpio reigning in. And I was just talking about this right before we went live, that in 2010, we had Jupiter Uranus in Pisces at the last degree. We went into this decade like thinking it was jackpot city and thinking it was going to look exactly like the dream and fantasy we thought it'd be, and it totally went a whole different direction. Scorpio brought the real truth out, but it was the real work of getting to our real core selves, seeing parts of ourselves that we had never seen before. But this is this rise of who we once were, but it's combined with this transformational element. And this full moon in Scorpio is finally coming where there's no planets that are major or even outer planets that are going to be retrograding in Scorpio for a long time. So guess what? This is like the full release point. That's what a full moon is. And it's coming on this Saturday. But before we get to Saturday, it is exciting to see Venus finally come into Taurus, its home sign. Venus is happy. Venus is very happy here. Especially, this is going to be a unique one for Venus to hop over Uranus. That one hasn't happened, well, I guess you could say that one hasn't happened in about 80 years. Because if you really look deeply at Venus now in Taurus, its home sign, we got Uranus here. And this is a big deal because Venus and Uranus are trying to work together to understand what needs to change. So when it comes to money, what you're creating in your life, and how you want your life to be beautiful, it is about trying things you've never tried before, doing things differently. And so Venus, remember, it's at home. Uranus is not at home. It's at its fall position, so it doesn't really know what to do. Uranus is actually looking forward to have that Taurus-Venus cow walk on over to Uranus and kind of be like, all right, you want the news about how to live in Taurus? Buy the nicer couch, you know? Make sure you got some cologne on. Make sure that you did your hair real nice, you know? Like, well, okay. Like, because remember that Uranus could be a little bit of a little wild rebel who likes a mohawk and will be Rufio and paint it red and wear weird clothes and once in a while kind of go a little bit crazy. But, you know, Venus is trying to say, let's saturate into some nice, good vibes. And Uranus is like, okay, I need to understand what good vibes are. So it's pretty exciting because I really think that this Venus-Uranus aspect is really going to be what we've been waiting for when it comes to not only in projects, relationships, but things to start moving forward. We've been waiting for things to move forward for a while. It's been a lot of this Saturn and Pluto and South Node, which, to be very frank and honest, is scary. You can feel that there's something turning in this really weird direction under the current of this reality that's got this kind of freakiness to it, especially as we kind of feel like this uncertainty of where this whole entire world is going. Because what is Capricorn? It's the plan of where things are going. And there's these kind of like secret elements or unsurety because we don't really know. Even if you think about the galactic universe or our solar system or just, you know, finding a black hole when Jupiter retrograde, like in the last month and a half. Like there's this like, we are in this reality we're trying to understand, and there's these massive changes, but we got to remember that even though the undercurrent right now is changing the structures, there's this beautiful outside that we need to stop getting so obsessed with trying to understand kind of the darker elements and focus on the beauty that we are building as think of it like the roots are being redone. Yeah, it's like a rotor-rooter a little bit, or it's kind of like replacing the sprinkler pipes. But that doesn't mean we still can't enjoy the grass and get a slip and slide out and have a good time. I don't know if you guys remember slip and slide, but I used to love the slip and slide. And I think that this whole entire element now with relationships especially, Uranus rules people. It rules society. It rules our contacts, our acquaintances, and all these people. And Venus is our personal relationship space. So with this coming in, this is exciting because this starts to really go and call spade to spade, especially as the buildup of a full moon in Scorpio. And remember that the moon is in Libra to start this week as we're getting this full moon starting to get brewed while we're getting this Venus-Uranus aspect. There's a lot of relationship stuff coming up. It's exciting because it's kind of calling things like, all right, is this going to really really work in my life or not? When it comes to your projects, okay, what things need to be figured out? Uranus is like, we need to figure things out because it's not creating the way that we want it to be created. And Venus is like, okay, well, this is kind of what I want. This is how I want it to be. It's kind of like an interior designer coming in and being like, okay, so you're going to help me figure this out. Okay, I want this, I want that, I want to change that, I want to change that. And the interior designer is like, thank God. I've been waiting for a list forever because I don't know what to do here. So there's this aspect where we've been a little confused about how to play certain projects, how to play relationships, how to play all these different games we're going through life in Capricorn where it just feels like stress, and oh, I'm making this choice and this choice because we don't have a list. We don't know, there's a little bit of this, we didn't know where things are really going. That's why Uranus is that fallen Taurus, people. Because unless we have the understanding of the value of something, we don't know what to change. But we have to finally face that value. This week is about facing the value 100%, like going, are you really in or are you really out? I mean, it's very black and white, full moon in Scorpio. There is no gray anymore, and that's been a space we've been stuck in. Remember, there were 2 full moons before this in Libra. You want to talk about gray? Libra. Trying to find out the good of the black and the good of the white and the bad of the black and the bad of the white. Oh my gosh, no. So this is a great week. Although there is that kind of harsh energy that's going to come in. I know, there's always something. But it's good, I think, but it also is going to be a little bit harder to confront a lot of these things. Mars comes into Cancer following Venus's entry into Taurus here. So on Wednesday, we are going to have Mars come into Cancer. And this is the fall position of Mars. Now, I want to remind you that with Mars fall in Cancer, it's because if we get too stuck emotionally, then we can't move forward. Or if we don't feel comfortable, it's very hard to have the confidence when, you get made fun of or when you're not feeling good. Especially like, let's say you're sick, right? The last thing you want to do is get on your bike and go ride with your friends and go to the beach. Like you're kind of like, I'm going to just chill here. So Mars is like wanting to chill. But the good news is the North Node, Rahu, is in this Cancer element, which means Rahu is like here and the North Node is here to say, we need to take action. And remember that last year, this time, go to your life, May 15th. How ironic that tomorrow is May 15th. So May 15th, Uranus entered Taurus, remember. And then it retrograded back and it left on, the first couple of days of November. And then it came back here in March. So it's ironic that as this big, May 15th date comes, here we have Venus coming in its home sign at 0 degree. This is where Uranus was. Here we have Mars coming into Cancer, which last year Mars was opposite, right? It was in Capricorn, then it went into Aquarius, and that's where the South Node was. And so last year we thought we were these winners. We could figure it out, but something happened. It didn't work out too good, right? So there's a little bit about this cleaning up of the craziness of last year. But when you're in the middle of kind of the energy ending, you actually see how wild and crazy it is all over the place. And even though it might not make sense, or you're trying to put sense to it, you kind of have to realize it's just the aftermath of the weirdness that really was last year. Because now with this Mars and North Node heading into the same sign, this is opposite of last year. It was a Mars retrograde. It was in Aquarius. It was in South Node territory where eclipses were. And there was a lunar eclipse in July on that Mars retrograde South Node. So this Mars is not about to go through a retrograde with eclipses, right? And actually, if you look at Mars, it's going to pass all this energy right before the eclipse season starts. So it's actually rather exciting to me that Mars is coming into Cancer because it's here to heal this emotional foundation around chaos or unpredictability or not knowing why things happened. And I think that the number one thing that we're going to have to face now with this Mars in Cancer, because it's going to go through some major, major challenges. It's going to square Chiron starting next week. We're going to start to see that this weekend during a full moon in Scorpio, which we're going to show you in the charts. Which means, you know, are you going to still own the loser inside of yourself? Yeah, I just said it. You can own that, and I'm owning that. We're all owning that in a weird way, okay? It's okay. I'm here to like pat you on your back and say we all are going through that one. Where we have to go through this purge of, you know what, that was last year. That shit was crazy. And that doesn't mean that it's going to continue to be that weird, because you got to remember that when Mars went retrograde, it was Uranus that was in Taurus for the first time in over 80 years. So we were dealing with energies we've never really felt before. And remember when Mars retrogrades, it's like right on top of the Earth, you know? And it's like, and you have a South Node and eclipse energy there. It's like, bah! So we got zapped by this Martian overpowering radical who knows? And that was Mars retrograde square Uranus. Now we got Mars and Uranus sextile this week. So we're breaking free of the chains. It's that square to Chiron that's saying, like, are we really just going to keep identifying with this loser story or this identification of what went wrong? And we have to embrace what went wrong and see that we learned and it actually has made us part of our identity, and now take the new emotional steps to build our identity, our courage, our strength, to find comfort in what's happened, because we are no longer in that space, even though it looks like it in weird ways because it's the end of it. And always at the end of any movie, it always gets a little bit climactic. Duh! And then just, yay, credits. So don't trip out. Number one, this is relieving energy massively. I know I usually come on here and go, get prepared. But I'm here to tell you today, it's like, get excited. Because this is about how do we get to this true paradise in our life? How do we get to this better feeling? How do we start to see these things move forward that we've cultivated? Taurus is about cultivation. It takes a little bit of time though, you know. Like, I definitely don't want something that was built real cheap, real quick, and just here you go. I definitely want something that, you know, I'd rather get a letter from somebody with a little bit of perfume on it, a little kiss of some real lipstick, and like, then an email. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, like, ooh, I could smell that. I remember, you know, when I was in high school, it'd be like, you know, you keep all the letters from all the girls, and it's like, oh, look at this one. They would like origami it or whatever. It's like, wow, that thing's valuable. I still got that. It was worth that much. This is where, you know, but emails, I try to look at old emails from old chicks or whatever when I was like 20 or whatever, and they're on some old Yahoo or AOL account or whatever. MySpace is gone, so it's like, you know, but it's like, yeah, you'll look at it and be like, oh yeah, oh yeah. But there's something about that physical cultivation of reality, of essence, that makes things really beautiful and makes things great. So I think it's really important for people to see that this cultivation point is amazing right now. And to not be scared of it, to not be afraid of actually making your life as great as it can be. Because that's the whole fear, that this is all going to repeat last year, that this is all going to be a crazy shithole and it's not going to go the direction we want. That's not true. This is Mercury now really heading fast in great aspects with Pluto and Saturn and the South Node for us to really see clearly now what needs to change. If this was of all weeks, I could tell you to just hammer down what you know you must confront to end. This is full moon in Scorpio, about endings. so you can fully transform. This is it, folks. Go forward after this, and it starts to get a little bit more hairier. Remember that Mars is going to get into big oppositions with Saturn and Pluto. Remember that the Sun is leaving Taurus and coming into Gemini and about to come into those big, T-square energies with Neptune and Jupiter. And Mercury is ready to come into its home sign. Remember, Mercury's like going, oh my God, I'm almost home, I'm almost home, I'm almost home. So, but there's this slowness of Taurus that says, okay, let's make sure we know what we don't need in Scorpio anymore to build this beautiful life, and let's purge. And also remember, Scorpio is about retrieving and receiving and pulling in. So it's also like, no to this, but hell yeah to that, baby. These are great times. Don't let yourself get tripped out anymore about what happened, especially June, July, September of 18, and even just all the way till this point. And then I'm going to show you just real quick in the charts today about how this goes all the way back to not only the 2012, but 2015, when we peaked out of some of this crazy energy that this full moon is exactly covering, which I actually did a video on it called Light Reborn. And you know what's ironic? Is that light was reborn then, but it finally is getting the maturity of that light this weekend. Let's take a look at these charts. Oh, Light Reborn. That'd be a climactic end to a movie. Light Reborn! So, I'm getting a little drink real quick. It's hot. It's getting hot again here. And for all those in Australia, I want to say, I hope your fall's going well. And for those in America, when are we going to get some heat? I live in California. We're used to that. I don't know why it's been so cold. Today it's a little bit hotter. All righty. We have a lot of charts, but here we go. Let's take a look at today's chart because I want to show everybody kind of what we're dealing with situationally wise. We've got this Sun at 23 degrees, and I forgot to bring it up, but I brought it up in my weekend report. It's the Sun trine Pluto. Or if you watch my dailies on highvibe.tv, you'll know. But we just finished this big trine to Pluto, which means we can feel deep inside that we are changing, that we are ready to let go. Because this is a very hard grip on reality in life. This Saturn and Pluto and South Node, it's like, I'm just going to hold on. But the problem with that holding on is it's connected with Neptune. I'm going to hold on to the past. I'm going to hold on to this past. It's like, but Neptune's trying to say, like, I love the past. But that's why it's two fish. There's another fish that's going like, I kind of want to go into this new magical land. Because the land I was in wasn't that magical. Yeah, actually, you're right. So this is a good moment because we do have Mercury, which you're going to see also as well, make a quick, really quick sextile over to Neptune. And kind of like Mercury in Taurus is a good stubborn Mercury. Like, you know what? Listen up. We want to feel good. We want to have a better life. Let's go to magic, right? Let's stop with this past thing. We can learn from the past. Trust me, I love the past. I am 12th houser. I love the past. But it's about learning from the past and embracing it, but then that's how you move forward. And this is about moving forward in a unique way, not the very Martian, like, we're moving forward, let's go. No, this is like, I'm just, you know what? I want to feel better. Let's just move forward into that. And it's about having that calmer, more, I guess you could say, better, like a fine wine approach to like, I'm going to use it. I don't drink alcohol, but I think it's funny if you watch people, they drink beers, you're like, but it's like if you bring out like a 300 bottle of wine, it's like, okay, let's see here. Hold on. Then let's get the aerator out. Let's like pour it real nice. Let's swish it around and then take a sip. Like, we're not chugging beers out here no more, folks. Like, come on. This is like us saying we want that fine feeling. And that's not something that happens by chugging beers quick. So that happens by appreciating something great. And since we all know there's all these great things around us, it's about letting go of that fear that it's not going to go that way. It's almost like having a fear of like, oh my God, we're pulling out that wine, and if you drop it, we're screwed. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, we're not going to drop it. Like, chill. Like, we got this. But there's this weird fear of like, well, maybe I'll never have wine like that again. Come on, really? So there's a lot that's going on. Venus at the end of Aries is very happy to be here, but remember that this 29 degree of Aries is, you know, it wants things now, it wants things fast, but the Sun is leading the way, this Mercury is leading the way, this Uranus even is leading the way, and Taurus being like, hey, Venus, you're coming home. Remember that you actually like things to be good and nurtured right and be felt good. And so when you think of this energy with this Venus-Mars, right, we've got this Venus-Mars sextile, right? So there's this like, we have to find positivity, Mars, especially that rules our minds with Gemini energy of how powerful our thoughts can be. We want things quick. We want to figure out things quick, and that's okay. But we're going to get there by actually saturating, by actually creating something of substance, by stopping. And time is going to slow down a little bit because it's been really fast. And it might trip you out. This Taurus transit here, especially this week, is going to start to slow things down. So you can really start to make some good decisions. There's a lot of positive aspects about making proper decisions, making good structures again, because we've been in a little bit of chaos. And this moon in Libra, you know what it wants? It's already been full moon twice, right? So it's like, I'm done with being full moon. Like, stop full mooning me. Stop full mooning me, please. And it is saying, because both the sun and the moon, the two luminaries, are in Venus-ruled signs, which is peace and feeling good and connection and feeling great and having a nice chuckle. And Mars, you know, that Mars in Gemini is a little bit of a jester. You don't know if the jester's like working for the king or working for the people or working the room for something else. Mars in Gemini is a jester. You know, hey, what's going on? And with Venus there at Aries, it's like, oh, I got to think of a joke right now. Here we go. Da, da, da. Have you ever heard about the one with this guy, and this girl? Oh, yeah, da, 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 da. It's like, that's how we're getting through these darker Saturn, Pluto, South Node vibes, which are, there's massive weight on our shoulders right now. Just of the weight of the world, the weight of what's coming next, the weight of, can I pull all this off? Can I achieve the things that I'd set my sights on, my vision? And so if we just sit in just like depressed land, not like emotional depressed, but just like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, oh, I'm sick of it. Because remember that Pluto and Saturn are sick of things. Like, I'm just sick of having to do this. And if we wake up that way and we go to bed that way, and if we're, you know, making love that way too, I mean, is that going to really feel good? No. So this is definitely this Tuesday, this finishing up of this, like, okay, we've tried to find a lot of things to stimulate us, but if you look at what the stimulation was, it was temporary. It was not long-lasting. And we almost try and make ourselves think, you know, that, yeah, like in a really, you know, Gemini way, like yeah, it's like lighthearted, like, yay. And Venus and Aries is very kind of like, yeah, I'm just doing it to do it. But now that these are moving into Cancer and into Taurus, this is about emotional, you're going to start to feel the real shit. I'm excited for the real shit. Let's move on to the real shit, because that's what's starting here on Wednesday. So when we look at Wednesday, it's going to be pretty cool. We're going to see Mars here, which is going to finish up here in Gemini that day, and then that night it's coming into Cancer. But this Venus, yes, back at home at 0 degree. And how ironic, May 15th, 2019. That's exactly when Uranus entered into Taurus last year. And so this is this 0 degree spot. Now, this is a very important point, 0 degree, because of course it makes aspects semi-sextile to the beginning of astrology chart, which is 0 Aries. And of course, it makes a lot of other aspects, of course, but it's really connected to the opposition point, which is 0 Scorpio. And the reason why that this full moon is going to be a big deal, because if we look at this moon in Libra, here it's heading towards this position for this big full moon at the end of this week. And what this is about this moon is getting ready to cover all the massive work. Because the reason why, so sure, the moon every month comes through this space. So the last two full moons in Libra were covering 82 and 83, but they were also covering, and I didn't bring it up because I thought those were bigger deals about relationships and how for the last 35 years and 36 years, relationships have been just all over the place and screwed up. But what this is bringing up is 2011 into 2012, because that is where Saturn was at that time. And this is important because when you have when you have a lunar phase coming in, like a full moon, the sun is what is highlighting the moon, giving it its light at its fullest capacity. So when you have that fuller capacity, now you can start to feel it. And with all these energies in Taurus now, this is all opposing where we were at in 2012, 2013, 2014, and 2015 with Saturn. And what's interesting now is I think Saturn's such an important piece to pay attention to, and the reason why, because some astrologers might go, well, why is he even bringing this up? Why does he keep going back to this? Well, there's a south node on Saturn. This is bringing up all past karmic situations that have gone on wherever Saturn was, and it's just no irony that we can use the lunation cycle to understand the cycles of what we're going through, especially when they peak out, because that is the core fundamentals of the nodes, and this is where this nodal axis happens to be on, Saturn, in its home sign, Chronos, time. And so if you actually take from Wednesday to the end of the full moon, we are covering the end of 2010 all the way until this end. I mean, we can use Saturn only and say September or it's August of 2015, but because this full moon is happening also in an area where we had a Mars retrograde in 16, we had a Jupiter entered Scorpio, and then Jupiter retrograde in 18, and then a Venus retrograde at the end of 18. And we also had a Venus retrograde at the end of 2010 too in Scorpio. But you have to realize that all this crazy Scorpio work is done. The last thing to end it would be a full moon in Scorpio, right? Think about that. Because let's just take this whole new age people out there, and they're not astrologers talking about it, right? It's like, oh, lunation cycles, new moon ceremonies, full moon ceremonies, release, manifest. So yeah, okay, let's just take that. It's kindergarten astrology, but there is a basis to kindergarten. That's where we learn how to glue. It's where we learn how to go to the bathroom without having to ask our mom and ask another adult. These things are fundamental basics that live our lives with. It's where you have to learn how to talk to a friend without a mom or dad around. So full moon cycles are release points. I know it's kindergarten, I know, but it's a release point of where this south node Saturn about this past and this karmic time system is. And there's no irony that it's happening with these new energies that we haven't seen for most of us in our lives. We've never seen Venus, Uranus, Mercury, and the Sun in Taurus. I've never seen that. I wasn't alive. If you were born in the 50s, you weren't alive for that. If you were born in the 40s, you weren't alive for that. So guess what? This is a new space. And I'm here to tell you that this is the release point to all that crazy shit of the whole last decade. And what makes no sense to all of us, because especially you got to remember Mars at the end of Gemini is a crazy, clown. And it's also a little bit, mentally deranged because it starts kind of going manic. But what's going on? Why? Why is this happening? Is this thing? I got to figure this out right now. I need to figure this out right now. Oh my God! Oh my gosh! So this is why I'm saying we just need to kind of not let that manic mind run amok into these areas and spaces of I got to figure this out or I'm done. Especially with Saturn and Pluto there in that Scorpio or that Capricorn energy being you got to figure it out and give me a plan. It's there's always that kind of scary beast there in the corner, of the astrology. So it's like anytime planets are doing anything, they all kind of feel like, where is that mofo? Like, where are those two guys hanging out together? Like, eh. So Mars in Gemini is like, I need to figure things out so I can make it through because I'm about to oppose them in Cancer and I'm really weak there. So it's trying to get all the information about how to survive. Right now, everybody is in survival mental mania. And there's no zombies. That's the funniest part. There's no zombies, there's no shows. I don't think it's ironic either, and I've been using Game of Thrones references lately. I won't give away, in case you haven't seen it yet, but that last episode was very much this, well, I can't give it away, but if you watched, it was kaboom. Let's just say that. So there is this fear of a kaboom. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's not here to kaboom, but when the phoenix rises, there is that weird feeling of, whoa, there is that kind of rapid fire extreme, wow, but it's positive. So I think that this is going to be beautiful because this Venus coming at this 0 degree is covering this. It is covering this zone that is very, very connected because the last time that Venus was at 0 in this aspect, but in the opposite side, was when it was direct, or actually it was retrograde with the South Node in Scorpio, and that was on Halloween. We're mixing a lot of, goblins. We're trying to do Halloween. Remember that we're in the opposite, vibe of Halloween, right? So, not wearing any funky stuff, but it's almost kind of like we're living our own Halloweens right now for no reason while we're in the middle of like the opposite of what Halloween is. There are no kids trick-or-treating right now. They're in school, and thank God because there's no traffic during certain times of day. But when they come out of school, that's Halloween to me. No, I'm just kidding. But it's like there is no thing to be scared of right now. Of course, there's this world stage that's freaking us out. Of course, there's this survival thing. Because you got to remember that Mars is only thinking about how to protect, survive, direct, accomplish, and move forward. And so when it's manic here at the end of at any time Mars is at the end of a degree, even on the election night of Trump and Hillary, Mars was at 29 Aquarius at the edge. Look at the politics right now. Everybody's at the edge. It's making the exact trine to where Mars was the election night. The government, who, which side, who? So it's like, do we all really want to be in that in our personal lives right now? No, no, no. This is us realizing that there's been so much, and why I bring up the relationship thing is this Venus coming into Taurus with Uranus is opposing where Venus was retrograde conjunct the South Node. Also, Mars was at 0 degrees, remember, when it retrograded, and there, even though the node wasn't there exactly, that was a major turning point as it was making squares to Uranus. So you have to remember that there is a lot here on this 15th that is bringing up all of 18. And a lot of the weird shit that happened late spring, like we're in now, or late fall if you're down on the southern hemisphere. And how we are not going to go through that. We are going to button that up, close it up, and move on. And that will be a great chapter in our lives of crazy lessons. It will make for weird pictures on your Instagram. I had a mohawk last year. That's all I'm going to say. So let's go to now where we come out into this new space, because now on the 16th, all right, the moon is now at that 20. Remember, the full moon was at 29 Libra, and it's going to come there, the last full moon. But now the moon's going to come into Scorpio, back-a-da-bomb, and it's going to oppose that Venus. So there is a lot more that's going to be going on with this relationship thing as we head into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Because why? Mars comes into Cancer, and it's making a nice trine to the moon in Scorpio at 0, Scorpio, and then this Venus is moving fast. It's already at 140. It's moving really fast. but it is sextiling and it is opposing the moon. And so this is where this moon on Wednesday, even though it's not exactly full, it is entering its full phase, and it's going to oppose Venus-Uranus. And Venus-Uranus are trying to figure out what's worth having, what's worth creating. How are we going to figure out how to make our life great? How are we going to figure out how to make this thing all work? Mars now in Cancer is like, okay, I'm really weak, guys, but I do have the North Node. I have Rahu here. I have this like kind of forcing me to go and take action, but I want to be comfortable. It's like, okay, at least Venus and Mars are getting along still. And this is about like, let's build partnership, let's build community, let's build relationships, let's build projects, let's build solutions that are comfortable for all people, and let's get a structure together, and let's just make this feel easy and good. Because Taurus and Cancer want zero drama. They don't want any drama, because that's going to bring chaos to the paradise of Taurus, and that's going to bring chaos to all the little crabs, and they're all going to be in their shells. And they all don't want to be in their shells. They want to be running on the beach, putting on suntan lotion, and being like, yay, look at me, woo, and watching The Bachelor at night with a nice bowl of soup. So this is exciting because Mars also is coming in contact with Uranus. And even though both are in their fall positions, so they're not at their strongest, they are bringing us to a position of saying, like, we can figure out how to survive. We can figure this out. Why are you tripping? There's no reason to trip. We have Venus in its home sign. We have everything that is possible to human mankind around us in the whole universe to make whatever we need comfortable. We just have to be willing to be open and see them. Because one thing about Taurus, it can be stubborn, like, no, I only want it to be this way. It's like, okay, well, Uranus is trying to teach this to all of us in Taurus right now. It's like, well, you want that, but I'm telling you that you have to get it through going through that door. It might not be purple, it might be not red, but it's green. I know you like those doors, but it's a green door. Just go through the green door and you get what you want. Is it that hard? It's like, no. Well, then go through the green door, yo. So this is where we're going to realize this week that we have been panicking for literally zero reasons. And literally come into ourselves and be like, whoa. Like, what? And a full moon in Scorpio that starts on Thursday and Friday and peaks out Saturday? Yeah, it's going to be covering 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015 of Saturn's reign. And remember, Saturn and the North Node were in the same sign in that 13, 14 phase right there, that energy when the eclipses were, right? Even though in 14 it went into Libra, you have to remember that there was that massive eclipse that was the sun, the moon, and Venus at 0 Scorpio. That's why you need to go get my video on High Vibe, 75 minutes. I break this down. If you want to understand how to go to paradise, honestly, I break this down for 75 minutes. I don't have enough time to do that for y'all right now. I got to go move on, but I'm just telling you. There is so much more connected than you realize here. So much. And no, that video I posted was a preview for 27 minutes for the YouTubers out there, and it wasn't even a preview of the whole thing. There was like a minute of preview. It was more of honoring Jeff Jower, which I want to honor him today, because he was a Taurus with the full moon, full moon in Scorpio. And that man did amazing things in astrology, and he spoke through that reading to all of us and told us that he had been seeing how much craziness was going on in the astrology and how to help people get that information out there just to understand that these are the times that we're going through. And I want to honor him and I want to respect him with that he still is teaching people astrology from beyond. And I think that it is important for us to realize at this moment that there is nothing to be terrified of. This is about embracing the good instead of being afraid of what we think is bad, which actually is our own insecurities of not willing to see that everything that we need to create, to have, to be comfortable, and to manifest, and to feel, whether it's relationships, whether it's projects, whether it's jobs, whether it's just your overall happiness in life, is all here for us now. It is our own emotions and how we deal with them on whether or not we are terrified because we're too afraid to change, we're too afraid to accept, we're too afraid to let it in. The truth is that we have all become hardened, emotional criminals of our own life where we don't want anything to come in. We're afraid if the door opens. We're afraid if anything good is going to come in now. And that's what this is releasing. because we're all blocked off a little bit, especially with our heart chakra. We're all blocked off with a lot of parts of our soul because we all had to survive. We think now is the survival. The survival was the last decade. Of course, that's the peak out of Saturn and Pluto here in January 2020. Of course, that this decade was about survival. Because waking up in a galactic shift point, in a new direction for Earth, a new direction for the universe that not even the Babylonians lived through, that not even the Egyptians lived through. But going into things like Atlantis and all that stuff that's talked about is what we are entering now. So yeah, survival is just surviving the feeling of going to the most amazing place in the world, a higher vibe. But that's something that we were terrified of because we were almost addicted and thought that the highest vibe was the most shittiest vibe that we were all living up until that point, which was not aware. We were all not aware. I know there's actually people that were awake, for these, this century, but I'm here to just tell you that it was very small. And even us who have awoken in the last decade or even maybe 15 years or whatever, you have to realize, when you look back at videos from people from the 80s and the 70s and the 60s and this conscious movement stuff, you got to give them props. Because imagine at that time how heavy it must have been to try and push knowing that we are all moving to this beautiful new place, but it's like the whole world's against you at that point. So, to me, the 16th begins the journey of evolution, of letting go of the fear and the letting go of what has been holding us back and also blocking us receiving beautiful energy. And ends the mania that we've been going through. Because on the 17th, on Friday here, we got Mars and Venus. Venus now is going faster than Mars, but we get this Venus-Uranus within a degree. So we start to come up with new ideas. We start to see who's on the team. We start to see solutions. But this is the only negative aspect to this is to Neptune, which is if you stop having compassion, if you stop having an understanding of whatever's happened in the past is the past and it's time to move out of that. That's the semi-square of Venus and Uranus conjunct is Neptune's making a hard aspect to this. Or if you're not in spiritual alignment, this is going to show who on the team, who in your life is truly in spiritual alignment and owns that consistently. This is where you have to be careful with the relationship thing with Mars, Venus, and potent aspects, because you got Venus in its home sign, you got Mars not in its home sign, but Mars is in a very emotional place, is people starting attaching to people who are not doing the soul work. And I'm not trying to say that that's a negative thing, you're not doing soul work, so you're a bad person or whatever like that. I'm just trying to say that if you're on the quest right now of your life with this Saturn sextile Neptune, which we all feel we're at this destiny point. And that's what I've been saying for a long time through the astrology is that this Saturn-Neptune hasn't happened in millenniums, right? This is powerful. Saturn in its home sign, Neptune in its home sign. And remember, this is the first time we found Neptune in 1848. Well, it's 46 through 48. So it's we have never seen Neptune in its home sign with Saturn in its home sign in sextile. Never in our lives, consciously even ever. So this is a big spiritual quest. But in order for us to have that in the promised land and have this in this great place, and especially with the sun on Algol, I know Algol gets the whole demon star thing, but the demon star thing is when you are just greedy and you're not going to use any of the abundance that you have to use it for something good. Because a demon is somebody who has access to everything and doesn't use it and is selfish and just keeps it for itself. Because this is about the flourishment of all. So if you understand nature, it's sharing with itself. The water is being shared, the nutrients is being shared, the pollen, the seeds are dropping, even when the apple falls and it rots and the seeds, they fall on the earth, it shares, it gives, it flows. And this is where this moment is for people. That with the full moon energy in Scorpio, which is going to be intense because it's transformation. It's like the caterpillar at the last moment of a butterfly. I don't know if you know this, But if you were a science lab and you try to help the caterpillar out and become the butterfly, it dies. Because butterflies survive through their own intense energy emotionally to want to get out and transform and become the butterfly. If you help it out too much, it doesn't have that drive anymore and it won't go, it won't fly. It's like, so you've got to really see who's really aligned with this spiritual work and also be in a forgiving place of people. You know, when it comes to this whole thing about spiritual work, because it's like everybody's not perfect. We are now restructuring because Sun has now trined Pluto, Saturn. Now Mercury's trining Saturn and Pluto, right? So we are now understanding what we have to restructure. And with Mercury that made that sextile to Neptune, we have to be forgiving through this point to ourselves about, sure, we want a better life, but you know what? Now is the real marker point of like, we're moving on. That craziness from last year was crazy. We're moving on. This is what this next, 5 weeks of this Mars in Cancer is going to be about. Is going to be about overcoming last year. And we get this beautiful week to set ourselves up beautifully. But if people are stuck, and I'm going to bring up Neptune and Pisces, semi-square to Uranus, if people are not valuing their spiritual selves by just going out and not really giving a flying fuck, because that's one thing about Neptune Uranus in negative aspects, is somebody who just doesn't, especially in Taurus and in Pisces, it's almost not valuing the soul. Like, I'm not valuing my soul anymore. I don't care about this reality anymore. It's just going to hell. Fuck it. Like, we have to be forgiving to people like that, but we also know that's not who we want in our personal life, or maybe we want with Uranus in the collective energy, and that doesn't mean that we separate or we create a stigma on that. We just don't connect. We just go, okay, that's great, and then we just move forward, because naturally that kind of energy falls apart. And so this is like where I bring up the relationship thing, because it's like, who really truly is doing their work? Who is continually going to stay on it? Now, with Neptune and Pisces, we all need escapes, but who's escaping way too much? Who's escaping to where they're not even really doing the work anymore? That's what this is going to ask with Venus semi-square Neptune. Don't buy the delusion either that they'll be okay, they'll change, they'll finally figure it out. It's like, because Taurus shows up in its home sign with what it actually has and what it's doing and what it's actually creating or what it's manifesting in its life. So it's important to pay attention to this, because we could be a little bit delusioned about who really has value. And Algol on the sun, that demon star energy, can be very good for spiritual energies, but it also can be, well, like, I really want that. So when it comes to a relationship, it's like, ooh, they're kind of bad. I like that. It's like, but is that going to be good for my spiritual self? No. So we don't want to fall under the spell with this transformational process, which I believe, and I know a lot of people don't believe it. The people tell me there is no dark. I got that a lot lately. But I do believe in the dark, just as much as I believe in the light. And I will tell you that the dark is at this counterpoint on Friday, right before the day of the full moon on Saturday, saying, you know what? Don't get pulled into the dark over something that looks shiny and exciting or whatever, but it's not good for you, or it's not got a bigger mission. That's what Saturn and Neptune are trying to do. Or that are not holding integrity of that mission and just showing up constantly and are trying to bug out. Because there's a lot of people trying to bug out right now. This is Neptune, semi-square Uranus. It's been going on for the last year and a half. And the only thing that's left over from 2018 that's in 2019 is this energy, which we did have Uranus and Neptune semi-square the whole year. And we have it this year as well, the whole year, by the way. So anybody that's bugging out and not holding the line And holding that, I'm still going to show up even when it looks like it's all going to end, because that's what Capricorn is about, is you have the integrity to hold the ship until it fully sinks. And we're not going to sink, but people are jumping off and going, fuck this, or getting distracted because life has got this stress on it and this weight. We don't need that weight anymore because we can build alliances and value in ourselves and let go of the fear and let go of what happened last year, to where we do the opposite of bugging out, but we do the amazing thing where we fully revolutionize and figure out ways to truly connect to this beautiful energy. I'm excited. Just be careful, those bug outers. Okay, May 18th. It's a wonderful, beautiful day. Full moon, Scorpio, 27 degrees. Awesome alignment here. And I think that it's so awesome because it's making great aspects to Saturn and Pluto. And I think that what this is saying is, all right, we are restructuring our whole life. We are transforming. We are stepping into the best energy. We got Mercury, which is with this sun. Mercury trine Pluto, by the way, where we understand what we must do and we get the information, because of course that makes sense. If we're going to have this phoenix rise and transform after the last decade of going through all this crazy shit and actually going to this beautiful place, we know exactly what must change. We know exactly what must be committed to. We have the information that is valuable to us. And with Mars, it is still sextiling over, but look at Venus, Uranus. They are conjuncting during the full moon. Venus will pass over Uranus. So we're getting massive downloads and information on what to have, the excitement of what's possible, and to actually find the greatest solutions possible of having something wonderful and great and precious. And so this can be very powerful because we can be seeing those around us, or whether it's love interests or business partners or friends or family members, see their transformation. But I think that for you, you have to see with this transformation, you know who's been transforming to this area, and you've been seeing going down the road of the right transformation down the road. But this is going to be this test where, are people really ready to transform fully? Are they ready to step into this energy? Are they ready to dedicate full 100% to this? And this is where we have to look, because with Uranus on Venus, we have a lot of characters in our life right now. It's a big black book. It kind of reminds me of, when you watch any old movie, or especially like, well, I'll use Game of Thrones again, or any kind of old thing where they bring out the big book, like, and it's like, that's how many people we have that we're looking at in our lives right now. In every way, whether it's heart chakra, whether it's sexual, whether it's this, it's like up and down and left and right, oh my gosh. And in Taurus, it's trying to go, is that one good? No, I don't know. Is this one good? I don't know. Is this one good? I don't know. So there's a lot going on here, I will admit. And then you add the full moon in Scorpio, which of course, the full moon in Scorpio is like, I want to, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's exciting, but it's also kind of like, gosh, what am I really connected to? And with Mercury opposing this full moon, yeah, our emotions. Remember, a full moon in Scorpio is at its fall position. So we have Mars in fall, we have Uranus in fall, and we have a full moon in fall position. So when you get all these energies in fall, we also don't want to use this energy to connect to what is the most toxic thing that is going to actually bring us back to old vibes of what the last decade was about. We do not. And you have to be smart. You have to value yourself. You have to go, this is not good for me. This does not feel aligned with me. So no. And don't buy excitement with Uranus and Venus. Buy solutions to a better life. I'm going to say that one more time. This full moon is about buying solutions to a better life instead of buying excitement, which you think is stimulating, but it actually doesn't have value. That's why Uranus doesn't have value in Taurus. That's why it's a fall. Because excitement is a quick thrill. But everlasting is that old chair that's been sitting in the royal kingdom with the queen and this king and this person that sat on it for thousands of years. And you know what? There's actually more of an excitement in sitting on that than getting the thrill of a quick roller coaster ride. There's something that we appreciate about something that has got worth and has been built off something beautiful. So don't buy the thrill. Buy the solutions to a better life. That's what this transformation is about. And Venus is going to semi-sextile Chiron, and Uranus is beginning that semi-sextile again. And so this is about, we want to take on forms that truly align with the humbleness of that we are all just trying to figure out who we are and how it's all going to work. But we don't want to take on energies and projects or people where it's like, I want to heal myself through just trying to get a rapid thrill out of this. Like, that's not going to produce anything. So pay attention to that one. This full moon will blow your mind. Actually, it'll blow your whole soul, because it will be the purge that you've waited a long time for. And I'm talking about a purge that you were sitting in the middle of 2013 and 2014 and 2015 waiting for, and it didn't show up. And that's where I'm going to bring up this chart to show you. So I'm going to bring you up to August 6, 2015. And the reason why I'm bringing you to August 6 of 2015 is, look at this. This was Mercury, Venus retrograde at 27, where the full moon is, but this was in Leo. And Jupiter, which was at 28. And what was Saturn doing? It was at 28, just had come direct. This was the end of the Saturn transit in Scorpio in August, when it went direct in August. And how ironic that the moon was sitting up there on that day when we had that Mercury-Venus retrograde at 27, conjunction point. How ironic that Mars was in Cancer then, just like it is during this full moon. And the moon was at 6 degrees, where Uranus is coming this year to station in Taurus. So I don't know where you were at in your life in August of 2015. I know where I was at. I was in the most terrified place of my whole entire life, to be honest with you, but I had just got out of it. And I had just come out of 5 weeks of an outpatient mental program. And my mental health was insane. But it was that first week of August that I remember I did the Light Reborn video. I think it's in July that I did it, and I was in a really bad space. But I was in the mental health program through this Light Reborn moment, because it was us at the end of like the darkest road, but it was the beginning of the healing and the having to bring happiness back and our true self back, which has been a long journey, because it reached the peak in that 2014 into 15 of just like losing it. And I'm here to tell you that this full moon is bringing it all back to pre-2010 and back into your life the way you were fully. And I'm here to show you this chart because it was a south node Uranus. We did not know how to figure out how to get through the craziness. It was a north node in Libra. The only thing that we could find was trying to balance out these crazy energies and trying to find peace through some sort of partnerships or help and alliances that were to help bring balance, whether it was, in my case, my mind, through psychologists, or through balance through whatever you went through in your life of just kind of having to go like, I'm going to have to take this while taking this, and this is going to balance this out. I'll sit on the couch and watch a movie while I have a panic attack. Okay, all righty. Not fun to go through. But take yourself back to that time. That triple conjunction point that was massive, that stellium of a Venus retrograde, Jupiter, the two benefics, on top of Mercury, square Saturn in Scorpio, with Mars that was trining Scorpio, and then Mars went into Leo right after that. This is what we are overcoming. And if we move into Sunday, boom, the moon comes into Sagittarius and opens up everything. The sun finishes in Taurus here, 28 degrees, 29 degrees. This is leaving. This is this saturation of beauty. This is opening up that there are lots of options. We've seen them with Venus, Uranus. We're seeing them with the moon and Jupiter. But the only issue is, as we come into this weekend, Mars is getting ready for its, awesome sextile to Uranus coming into next week, but it is going to square Chiron, which is let's break through to what feels good. We have solutions. We're not losers. And you know what? Even if we don't know what it's going to look like yet or how we're going to turn out, we know we have the solutions to make whatever we need happen. We don't know the exact look of how the fence is going to look that we need to go build for our backyard because we just tore one down or whatever. It's like, if we get too caught up too much on this exactness of how it looks in Chiron in Aries, why do you think everybody wore weird bell bottoms in the 70s with Chiron in Aries? And people had 8-track tapes for just a moment there. Whoever thought of 8-track, right idea, but cassette tape definitely worked better. So, we have these ideas that are great, but if we start to identify and think that we're going to know exactly how it's going to be, it's going to have its morphing aspect constantly because Chiron morphs. Chiron, on one side of the sun, completely burns its ice and has a trail. On the other side, it's just icy. So we're in a morphing state of identification. And I think people who have taken psychedelics get this the most because, and I'm not trying to promote it, but I'm just trying to say, like, Chiron Aries, why do you think psychedelics and people were smoking weed in the 70s and stuff? Because reality right now is a morphing thing where if you think that you know how it's going to go, it will look like it, but it will have a different viewpoint. It will morph a little bit, and it will even morph a little more. If you are okay with that, you'll be fine. But if you have to be this radical, I need to know exactly how it looks, and I need to know how it might really terrify you right now. Be open. There's a lot of good people around. And that's why it's so important to use this full moon about the choices in who we have in our life and not choosing people who are really not doing good work for your life, good work as far as being aware, because you need saturation of comfort and security and a home with people that are going to have the skills, have everything that you need to go make your quest happen, your own individual happiness happen. And we come into Monday, and the sun is going to finish in Taurus, and then Mercury and the sun are going to hop into Gemini. I guess you could say later into that night, Monday night into Tuesday. Bam, 0 degree. And Gemini is a whole new world. So we finish this Taurus thing in a very beautiful way. We got the moon and Jupiter. We've got these amazing new doorways. But I'm here to tell you this because I will just say this. And we're going to end the show right here like this. Is that the reason why this is such a great week is because what's coming next will be challenging. And I'm not going to lie. And some people might not see it this week. They might think, oh my God, they're going to buy this whole Saturn, Pluto, South Node thing. They're going to keep sticking on that one of this world that's being destroyed and all this stuff. Or they're going to get caught up in the distractions of stimulation. That's why I'm saying don't buy that this week. Buy solutions to a better life. You're going to see, especially with Neptune, that's the media, square Uranus and Venus. Guess what? The media is going to be selling stimulation high this week. Like higher than the opioid crisis that they say they're trying to fix. Are they really? Or are they behind it? I think that this is where we all have to not buy that anymore in ourselves, because what's coming up next, you got to watch. Mars is going to come into big oppositions. The sun in Gemini with Mercury is going to be a lot of fast-moving parts. And so we're going to need comfort, stability, and Mars square Chiron alone is not going to be easy next week. Chiron is not done with its transit. It's still got a couple degrees to go before it retrogrades. And then you've got Mars getting ready for those big oppositions. And, then if you just even follow the zodiac, you got Venus, which is going to be in great spots, but not for a long time. Because when we come into June, that's the last month before we come into big eclipse season. And we are going to be at a very tense point. And the only way to get through the tense point is going to be having this week where we set the groundwork of how it's going to go, how it's going to be, what feels right, and start sending ourselves into this great world that we know outside or underneath or wherever, who knows with Pluto and Saturn, that the whole world is restructuring. And it looks crazy and it looks scary, but we know that we are protected in our bubble of love, of support, of enrichment, of goodness, of the protection of God too. But what pulls us from God, what pulls us from spirit, is the stimulation to feel better fast through things that are almost facading themselves. There is no fast way to do this. And this is where people lose their control of their own desires because they're trying to repair what they have gone through of survival. And it's about being compassionate and forgiving about that. But also, if you really want people on your team or want people in your life, you got to call things spade to spade with Venus on Uranus. You got to be a good friend. Or actually, better than that, it's just a good human being. By saying, hey, and sorting out the tables, sorting out the understanding between what's going on between all parties here. Because if we have all parties on the right energy and the right thing, we can go very far. Think of it like a tribe in the bubble, while the whole world outside is going to be erratic and crazy and gnarly. Because there is a solar eclipse coming 2 days before July 4th, America's birthday. I will bring up that the last time a solar eclipse happened in Cancer with the North Node in 2000 and 2001, the big one that was 2001, 9/11 happened right after that. Okay? Now we have Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn with a world that is going through its most darkest, weirdest transformation experience. We have countries now that are flipping their whole thing. I brought up in my magazine that Uranus and Taurus was going to flip things. I said the tech market was going to crash. It crashed. I was right, but I knew it would start crashing. This is going to be a weird world coming up because now that Venus enters into Taurus, that is the ruler of Taurus. The ruler of Taurus has now conjuncted Uranus this week. That is the initiation, finally, of what Uranus and Taurus is going to look like. We have not known what it's going to look like yet. We have been in a holding pattern, like on a plane, waiting on the tarmac, going, when are we going to see this Uranus-Taurus fucking situation? Because I have been confused as hell. I've had Uranus been squaring it, or Uranus or Venus that was opposing it last year in retrograde. We had Mars square it last year. So we have just been in this confusing sense. We have Neptune semi-sextile or semi-square it. So we have been in a confusing state. But I'm here to tell you that this weird new Taurus world is going to show up and it's going to pop up. And this is where we got to get everything together because the universe, and there is a God. There is proof from a week like this that God has our backs. But everybody has to be on that same vibe because the world's going to start to look really fucking weird after this. Welcome to the new weird world. And if you're going to choose people that are living a crazy weird world, guess what? Congratulations, you signed up for that one. That's just my only harsh truth of Scorpio here. I did my horoscopes for years. I've done it for, over 7 years every day, but, a lot of people found me during Saturn Scorpio. I am a Saturn Scorpio. And I can tell you that, I've lightened a lot of my Scorpio load over the years because I know it's getting lighter. But this is kind of the last point, too, of even though, yes, it's great for transformation, yes, it's great for evolution and growth, I will say that it is also calling things out spade to spade last time. You know what I mean? The stinger must be out. Hey, you got a great world right in front of you right now. Don't fuck that shit up. You just did all this change. You went through all this craziness over the last decade. Are you really going to fuck it up by just going and doing the same thing over again? Or finding, you got to pay attention to who's in your life, Venus, Uranus. And I think that it's even more important to know that this Venus-Uranus conjunction activates this crazy new world. And it's about us protecting ourselves in a beautiful high vibration and in a bubble that is going to protect us. This is about protection. But it's protection by being in valued, positive, supporting, loving, and good energy with a positive mission in life. And with a mission that we are here to change this world, and knowing that this galactic center point thing did change. And that even though the world is crumbling in a weird way, it's because that's how we get to this new earth that is beautiful. But we also don't want to be, do we really want to be underneath like the Sahara when it gets taken down by like demolition? Like, do we really want to be there? Or do we want to be like on a nice mountaintop with our friends watching, and I know that might sound sadistic, but the world, the way that we see it, is changing, and you can use the analogy of it crumbling. Or we do see when an old hotel needs to be taken down. It does get demolished. That is the Tower card in tarot, and that is what Pluto and Saturn is. And so we want to get to the right place where we watch the demolition happen of an old world that no longer works. And that is going to be chosen up to you, or if you're going to be in the chaos and the craziness in the middle of it because you chose a little thrill. And you didn't think of value. And you thought of your Scorpio genitals and gender fluids, wherever that's at too. And that's the whole thing. And I'll be honest with you, usually, I know usually it's more comedy and it's more fun because honestly, that was Mars and Gemini. I was the jester for you all for the last 6 weeks. But I'm here to now shift my role and help you get to the promised land. Truly. And that's why High Vibe's launching now. That's why we're all for it. And everybody even that's even here behind this set right now is here to go build a High Vibe. So definitely check out highvibe.tv. We have a 7-day free trial. And it's amazing. Honestly, I'm so thankful for how everybody has come together on this network. Like, we're all putting out awesome content, and it's on a platform that works, that you have your own control. If you want to cancel on your own, you do that all to yourself. You don't need to call customer service. You don't need to do any of this weird stuff. And we're all about bringing a high vibe to this place. And all the content that's being created out of here now is about this new amazing world. And so I really want to stress that to people now. And I don't even want to use that word stress. I want to give love to that new process. That if you really want this home, that's what we built High Vibe for. We built it for a home. And everybody that's on it is all about building a home. That's what we all want to do. When we all came together, we all said we want this to be a home. And so we're looking for people that really want a spiritual home that they can go to, and it's not cult-like. It's like where you are your own, but you can come together and share and experience. There is no codes that you have to follow or this, but just to show up and be your ultimate positive, loving self and have support and get the information that will help you. And I will do a little plug. I'll even be honest with you. I'm plugging my comfort for, or confronting your fear into paradise, because it's scary right now to make the choices in your life because you know they're going to lead you to the best place possible. But why are you addicted to the bad choice? I cover for 75 minutes in this video. It's available at highvibe.tv. It's got great reviews. It's been doing awesome. And I truly went all out. And how I went and just showed you a little bit of that Scorpio stuff, I go full into it. I even use old alchemy pictures. I go into the whole entire thing. And I lay it out there completely for people. So, because then I go all the way to the solstice. Because after the solstice of June 21st, guess what? We're coming into eclipse season, people. So, going to be pretty intense. And these eclipses are with Pluto and Saturn, remember. So, definitely you're going to want to get that video. Other than that, I just want to say thank you all for being here. Thanks for all the support last night with Deep Tarot. A lot of people are asking me, is Deep Astrology gone? I'm like, no. I'm adding Deep Tarot now on Monday nights. So I truly appreciate the support on that. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. I got it for your individual sun sign and for all signs, and it's on YouTube right now. I'm on the Leo King YouTube. Anyway, check out highvibe.tv. Thank you for all the support and always supporting me. Please share this video as much as you can and get the word out there to people to really set up camp, because having the good camp, we can have the most amazing view, and we are in an amazing transformational experience. This is a full moon in Scorpio that has edge, but it's the edge of the beauty that we've wanted in our life. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all in the next video.